This is With the First Pick, the CBS Sports NFL Draft Podcast. This is episode 105. I'm Ryan Wilson. That, of course, is Rick Spielman. Today, Rick, it's a first Tuesday without a full slate of college games to obsess over. So instead, I'm going to talk about some quarterbacks who've decided to opt out. One of them includes the best player in the draft, one of the best players in the draft for sure. Another includes probably a likely day 3 pick, and we'll talk about those two different draft journeys. We'll also look at the rookie quarterback performances from Week 14 in the NFL. Tommy DeVito, America's QB1, Rick. You said last week or maybe the week before that he's earned the right to probably be QB2. We'll get into this a little later, but I think the Giants currently have the number 9 overall pick. They keep winning and keep moving down the draft order. They're losing out on these quarterbacks that may go in the top 5. How seriously are you considering Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito playoff race for the job next August?
I'm still thinking it's Daniel Jones's job to lose. And then Tommy DeVito's been great success story. You know, we'll talk about it later on some of the things. It's one of those that was like the Pastronaut a couple weeks ago and him coming to save the Vikings organization. And unfortunately, he's fell to earth through the gravitational forces and
gravity got him.
Hit the ground hard. So, but no, Tommy DeVito, that's a fun success story. It looks like the Goodfellas are in the stands watching him play. They're going, the dad with the TD.
That was nice.
And the agent dressed up like he just walked out of what was that movie? Oh, we can't say it because it's not on our network.
We did the retrospective, like the prequel to what was that movie, Debo? the Michael Corleone movie. What's that original called?
Godfather.
So the prequel to The Godfather was on Paramount Plus, so you can mention that.
Okay, so yeah, it was like walking into the Godfather cast when you watch Tommy DeVito and play. And why is it Tommy Cutlets?
I'm not sure. Joe Musso, our buddy and the anchor at HQ that's there for Sunday nights, calls him Tommy Cutlets. I did see in the pregame last night. I don't know if you were awake to see it or not, but they were tailgating out in MetLife Stadium in the parking lot, and they had chicken cutlets there. Pete was talking about that in the pregame. They had chicken parm out there, so they had the whole setup, Italian sausage. They were making dreams come true, culinary wise. And I don't know if it's from that. I'm not sure. Maybe his mom made him cutlets when he gets home from work because he still lives with his parents. I'm not sure, but it's a great nickname. Tommy Cutlets is better than Danny Dimes, I think, is a nickname.
Yeah, well, because Danny Dimes isn't always dimes, throwing dimes.
No, he plays like 10 cents sometimes. But I don't want to get the man while he's down. He's rehabbing from ACL. But great story. We'll talk a little bit Tommy DeVito and the other rookie quarterbacks. Again, a wild time to be alive where the first 2 picks in the draft had pretty bad weekends, and a guy that no one was even thinking about, let alone in the NFL, but at Syracuse when they ran him out of town to Illinois, is the best rookie quarterback of the weekend. A little sneak peek there. Although we could argue whether it's Will Levis. We'll get to that in a second. We'll also look at the top 5 rookie performances from the non-quarterbacks like we always do, but a little different this week, Rick, because we're going defense only and going to target some guys we have not talked about yet this season. And it's a little tease. Hang around to see which of our coworkers took time out of their busy day to take Rick to task on one of these rookies we're about to talk about. You have any guesses who that might be and what it might pertain to?
No, I have no idea, but I'm really looking forward to the unscripted version of my surprise.
I texted Devo yesterday. I said, "Oh my gosh, I got so and so to talk about so and so as it relates to Rick," and this person went above and beyond, and I cannot wait for you to see this because this made my day. So it's going to be fun. All right. In case you missed it last week, Rick and I discussed my most recent mock draft, the one in which I had the Bears traded out of the number 1 pick, and Jaden Daniels going before Drake Maye, which got Rick all fired up. So Rick had some thoughts on that. You can check that out in the podcast feed. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, Rick, you can see on the official With the First Pick draft countdown board. What do we got?
135 days until the 2024 NFL draft. And it's not 35 days. I want to say it's 34 days since I used one of my days towards ridiculing some of your thoughts and processes. So I get one less day. So
I don't want to waste too much time because I know Debo likes to get in these things. But Debo, I was minding my own business on Monday. I did on Monday mornings, I do an HQ segment on the draft with Zach Ulrich. So I went to see what it looked like. It was in the hotel room. And it was actually Rick and Brady talking about my mock draft. And, Rick gives me a hard time on this show. Rick murdered me without me being present repeatedly on that show.
It's a little over exaggerated. I mean, it's come on.
You hit me with a steamroller and then you hit it in reverse.
Yeah, well,
and then you did a wheelie on me.
Yeah. I just thought you were trying to create content and driving people to our site.
Well, that's true too, though.
That Jaden Daniels is going to go to the Washington Commanders.
All right, let me ask you this, and then we'll get to going. What is the chance? Yeah, the Washington. You're right. The Commanders fans
that's the one that just throws me in a tizzy.
They were very. You were speaking for all Commanders fans because they were incredibly irate about that prospect because they love Sam Howell, which I get. I like Sam Howell too. I thought you were angry about the idea of Jaden going before Drake Maye.
Well, I was actually really angry about that. I'm not angry. I'm just a small-time scout in the northwest corner of the country that's sitting in the back of your draft room in the corner, next to the owner, by the way.
Next to the owner.
To you as the GM of this podcast.
All right, you know what? We haven't done a dollar bet in a time in a while. Dollar bet, Jaden goes before Drake. You're saying there's 0% chance?
0% chance.
All right. Debo, give me the dollar on Drake. I'll lose $1 to make Rick feel good, but I don't want to say 0. I say it's like 4.5%.
0.
All right. We'll find out in 135 days.
Yeah.
Or maybe 136 if Drake Maye gets drafted on day 2. Just saying.
All right. Like remember,
oh boy. Oh boy. Our buddy Pete Prisco has been all up in our text message mentions, just yelling about Will Levis. Here's my thing, Rick. I am very happy for Will Levis' success. And whoever Pete latches onto this year and tries to bait me into not liking, I'm going to love them like they're one of my own kids. That is my promise to you. I will not fall for the trap again.
Yeah. I will.
Right. You will. You're actually better at it than I am. I get very angry.
Apparently, I'm always the villain on every show.
Not when you're on the same show with Pete. You have that going for you. Like, there's no out-villainizing Mr. Prisco. By the way, leave us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast and nominate an FBS or FCS college player who is draft eligible, and we will evaluate his draft prospects on the upcoming show. We'll probably get to that in the next few weeks because we have some backing up, and Debo likes to keep the trains running on time. So look for those and get them in while you can. And finally, if you like what we do here, be sure to tell a friend, especially if one of your buddies has a team that stinks and wants to look for some hope somewhere. We can provide that hope in the form of our draft conversations. Finally, hit the thumbs up on the old YouTube's button there. Help spread the word at NFL on CBS. All right, Rick, let's get to it. First up, and this will be an interesting conversation and see if this factors into your percentage chances that Drake Maye, in fact, is QB3. I don't think he will be. I think it'll be closer to whether he's QB1 or not, but just for the sake of conversation here. He opts out of his bowl game. He's not going to play in the Mayo Bowl. If he had come out and said, I hate mayonnaise, I'm not playing in the bowl, I would probably respect that more. But I want to get your take because if you roll the ball out, a wise man once said, I want to see if you're going to compete. Drake Maye has chosen not to compete. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I would say that with him not being one of the big 6 games, the Mayo Bowl isn't up there in the Final Four, the other 2 major bowl games. So
it's not even in the major condiment bowls.
It's funny that you get mayonnaise dropped on your head, which I still don't understand that concept.
Nor do I.
And I hate mayonnaise. I'd be throwing up all over the place if someone dumped that much mayonnaise on my head. But I could understand maybe because he's probably a top 2 pick and it's not a major 6. So I'm leaning a little bit less hard-headed.
You're softening. You're getting soft. That's what you're saying.
Soft in this, since I've been on this side of the business where I can see the light on some of these guys, not all these guys. Power 6 game or January Big 6 game, absolutely play. Other than that, I can understand why, especially if you're going to go that high in the draft, why that he would probably consider not playing in that game.
Let me ask about one of his teammates, Des Walker, who wasn't allowed to play for the first month or so of the season because of the NCAA trying to figure things out. He did play. He was a big impact player as a wide receiver for Drake Maye. I don't know what his plans are, but I think he has accepted his Senior Bowl invite, so I'm assuming he's done playing college football, and we'll just run with that assumption for now. Does he need to play in the bowl game? Yes. Or are you more interested in, wouldn't you rather see him in the Senior Bowl, or do you want both?
I want both. He hasn't played enough to get enough tape on him, so the more exposures he can get, the more he's going to enhance his value. And I understand it's a backup quarterback, but that's going to be thrown to him. But he missed a lot of the season, so you only have a small sample size of this year, maybe 6 games. So I would highly advise him to play in this game and to play in the Senior Bowl.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, I think it was the 2017 draft. I think that's when this sort of started. Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette were the first really 2 big name, likely high draft picks to not play in their bowl games. Do you remember at the time your reaction? Were you like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it was absolutely asinine to me. I was like, what are we doing with our lives now? Is this what we've come to? People don't want to play.
So these are the questions you asked them at the combine, I would imagine.
Yeah, no.
What did they say?
I don't know if we interviewed those guys because they were top 5 picks, and we were had Adrian Peterson at the time. So
yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to take a running back with our first round pick.
But these are conversations you probably had during the draft. Oh my gosh! Look what Devo's been doing. So that's a great picture, you by the way. You're like a movie star. If you're listening to the audio version,
did you know
what?
that Hallmark is actually shooting a movie on the island? And someone called me last night. Again, I was in bed by 9:15, snoring. It's 3 sheets to the wind, or whatever you want to refer to.
That means you're drunk. Were you drunk?
Oh, that doesn't mean you're sleeping?
No, 3 sheets to wind means you've had a few too many pops.
Well, that wasn't the case. So I wasn't.
You were sawing logs.
But I was sawing logs in La La Land, Dreamland, whatever you want to call it. I was out. And I checked my phone this morning, and there is a bar restaurant on the island called Doc Ford's, which is a very popular place to go on the island. And the whole cast from the Hallmark movie crew, including the actors, were at that bar last night. So I was getting like texts from people that I know, you need to get down here.
You missed your chance. You missed your chance.
That was my chance to excel from this podcast into Hallmark movies. And just like that, I slept through my opportunity.
You could have done a cameo. You could have worn your With the First Pick shirt. Everything could have been coming together perfectly for us. And
I could have tried to talk them into actually having us do the podcast as part of the movie.
Can you imagine a With the First Pick draft Hallmark movie? If you were listening to the audio version, Devo has been dutifully taking the last 5 minutes to make a Photoshop of Rick's beautiful face getting mayonnaise dumped on him from the Mayo Bowl.
Ugh.
Here we are, number 1 overall pick odds. Caleb Williams minus 500.
So why would I bet $1 and lose 500? It makes no sense.
Because he's going to go first overall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I'm not making that bet.
Well, I think the Jaden Daniels, we talked about the Heisman last week, and you had Michael Penix Jr., which I actually like that pick. But Jaden Daniels, I think, got to minus 1,400, but it was such a sure thing that you wouldn't do it. But I think people probably felt pretty comfortable because you sort of knew what was going to happen. There was no real uncertainty. So, you bet minus 1,400 to win what? 100? Is that how it works, Debo?
Yeah. Well, you guys got it. I mean, Rick, put up $100,000 and you win $20,000 if Caleb Williams goes number 1. That seems worth it if you're that sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to take $100,000, which apparently you guys have not seen my bank account. Then I actually was homeless for a year and unemployed and barely, getting through life. But $100,000 to win how much?
$20K.
20,000. So, but if I lose 100,000.
You're not going to lose.
Take that minus 20. So in essence, I'm down $80,000.
You're not going to lose. Trust me.
What, I get my 100,000 back, or how does that work, Debo?
Oh gosh, Debo, you have to explain this part to him every time.
Yes.
Yes. So
I like the better odds. I'd rather put $1 to win $400 on a Drake Maye, or $1 to win $2,000 on Marvin Harrison.
Yeah,
Jr.
but people say that because they like the return, but those are longish and longer odds, and that's the whole point. So you're basically
the point is I bet every horse in the Kentucky Derby to win.
Oh, okay. I see. How much money do you end up making
on every horse to win? And if a long shot wins, one year I won at gross minus net, I won like $140.
Okay, in 1 year. You do this every year?
Yes.
On average, what happens? Do you lose money or make money if you average it out?
Well, I always win.
Oh, why doesn't everyone do that then? That seems like that's a
I
loophole.
don't win money. I lose money, but
He loses overall. His net is a big loss, but
Gotcha.
he
Okay.
I
feels
could say I
special.
picked the winner of the Kentucky Derby. That's a
Right.
moral victory.
I see. You got you. I got
Yeah,
you.
the NFL draft doesn't work like that. This is
No.
not 2022 with Trayvon Walker, which was a year with no quarterbacks, where Trayvon at one point was 40-1, and that would pay off. There's no chance this year.
Right. I think that's right. All right. So you to get back to the original conversation, you could not wrap your brain around the idea of a player, no matter how highly they were going to get drafted, not playing in a bowl game. And then the floodgates have opened. And your biggest fear is one less game to evaluate. Is that what it is, or is it anything else? Competitiveness? What is it?
It's a combination of everything.
Okay.
And it's old school. Go out with your brothers one more time. Win one
Gotcha.
for the Gipper, whatever you want to refer to. Do one for the old podcast on with the first pick.
There you go. That's the only reason you should play.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about another quarterback. Probably the most handsome quarterback in college football last fall. Sam Hartman transferred from Wake Forest, went to Notre Dame, went over to Ireland and got off to a strong start again in that game against Navy. But I think we knew who he was, whether he was playing against a team that didn't really put up much of a fighting chance, or they were playing in tough games that play themselves out in the fall. He opts out of the bowl game. Now, this is a guy, I don't know, did we say Aiden O'Connell is sort of the comp for Sam Hartman, something in that neighborhood?
Less of.
Okay.
But in that area.
Yeah. So what are you thinking when you see a Sam Hartman opt out, when the understanding is he's probably a day 3 guy best case?
Well, the Sun Bowl's in El Paso.
Used to be. I'm not sure this year. I can't imagine it's changed, but yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that's number one. It's not good like going to the Rose Bowl
But he's not Drake Maye though.
No, but look, did his right tackle come out as well? Did his right tackle Fisher declare coming out? I don't know if Alt's playing or not. I think there was a whole big thing. I thought I read that there was some discrepancy in the receiver room. So who's he throwing to? I can see he has 6 years of college tape on
That's
him.
true.
So I don't know with that big of history if it's going to change that much if he
Okay.
plays in a Sun Bowl.
Also worth noting, to your point, Blake Fisher has declared for the NFL draft, the right tackle, and he, according to Sports Illustrated, is opting out of the bowl game. So,
and I don't know, like I said, Alt hasn't made his decision whether he's opting out or not. At least I haven't seen anything. I think there's a mess at the receiver room right now.
So you don't want to actually put yourself. One line I think could be you put yourself in harm's way as a quarterback with a bunch of backups in there trying to protect you and haven't played together, so on and so forth. All right. I'm fine with these players doing whatever they choose to do. If they don't want to play and their agent convinces them it's not a great idea, I get it. This feels different than what we talked about at the Ohio State Pro Day we talked about before. DeJuan Jones walking around in sweatpants and refusing to get weighed, which is something I don't think you'd ever seen, right?
I've seen before. Yeah.
Guys refuse to get weighed?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's pretty rare because it seemed like people were like, what's going on? Yeah.
Very rare.
Jokes on us.
By the way,
yeah.
Tony the Tiger Bowl, Notre Dame, Oregon State on CBS, December 29th, 11 a.m.
Check it out. Tony the Tiger Bowl. Is that the one formerly known as the Sun Bowl? Is that the El Paso Bowl, Debo?
Correct.
Tony the Tiger Bowl.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Sam Hartman will, like us, be watching that game on the couch on CBS. So check that out, December 29th. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. Then I'm going to get back and look into these rookie quarterbacks. And boy, oh boy, a lot of bad and some good to end the week on Monday night. So that'll be something we'll talk about right after this.
Are you using a plunger to unclog the shake machine, as in the same plunger we use to unclog the toilet? No.
We're going to be opening Mega Good Burgers in cities all over the world.
Whoa. Megacorp wants to replace everybody with robots. We got to do something. Here's your burger.
That's not soap, by the way. It's maple syrup.
Why?
Yeah, if you hear Rick laughing there.
Good burger
YouTube,
too. I can't wait for that one.
Good burger too. Rick saw the preview for that, and that reminded me of a couple things. Number one, how funny Good Burger was 20 years ago. Number two, Saturday Night Live did a bit on Sean McDermott and his pregame speech over the weekend, And that leads me to this question, which just sort of popped in my head. When you have those sorts of crazy out of left field things happen, even if they're 3 years old or 3 weeks old, what's your to-do list look like when you get that phone call as
Oh,
a GM?
you don't have a to-do list. You just, I mean, after you get the phone call,
After you get the phone call, what do you do? Like, what?
one thing that I'll say is those players have a lot of respect for Sean McDermott for as much as went on, even with the Von Miller situation. And it seemed like that was sometimes it could be a distraction. This one seemed like to be a rallying cry for the
Yep.
Buffalo Bills, and they came and supported their coach. You could tell how beloved he is in that locker room by the way the players responded after that game. So, unfortunately, you have to go through adversities, and but they responded and they rallied around Sean McDermott, which tells you how much respect he has as a coach in that locker room and how much those players want to play for him.
It sounds crazy because a lot of times people will say in the media that at this level, when you're a professional athlete, you don't need to be motivated. But I feel like you can be motivated. And I don't know if they win that game if there wasn't a laser-like focus on the details that sometimes are lacking in recent weeks. Does that seem reasonable, or is it?
Yeah, I think an adversity situation can also, refocus you too.
Yeah,
Hopefully you don't have to go through the adverse situations, but this may have been a rallying cry that they came together on.
yeah,
And like I said, that was a great game. It was one of the best games I've seen all weekend.
unbelievable. You've told me before that, and actually, I'm not joking when I say this. I found it hard to believe that you would get so fired up when you watch the games from your suite. What are you doing if you're watching that Chiefs game and Kadarius Toney is 5 yards off sides and it'll cost you potentially the game? Are you just walking out of taking a lap around the stadium? Like, how are you managing that?
You're a numb. Just everything just drains from your body. It's like an outer body experience. It's something as simple as just lining up the correct way it is. It's hard to explain that you can't believe what you just saw. And then after the snap, it was maybe one of the greatest plays of the season.
Right.
On Kelsey throwing it back to Tony and him going in for the game-winning score. And everybody's up, giving everybody high fives in the box and everything, and then bam, offsides. And he was offsides. Now, if it was controversial, you'd be really upset, but it is what it is. You broke the rule, you were offsides.
Yeah.
The penalty was correct, and you cost them the game.
And Sunday night, I was of the opinion that, okay, the refs are just ticky-tacky in this, but as the hours and days have passed, he was clearly offsides. Part of the issue was that the refs have seemed to have been involved in calls in recent weeks that have maybe they didn't need to be involved in, but this actually bolsters their case. And the other thing is Kadarius Toney has, I don't want to call him an absolute and utter not working out situation in Kansas City, but it's pretty close. For what they gave up, didn't work out in New York with the Giants, and he
helped them win the Super Bowl last year with the punt return and made some plays to help them get over the hump for the Super Bowl. But,
that's true. All right.
For what they gave up for him, but there are things that the drop balls. We've seen one in that game as well. So he was one of those guys that has had durability concerns. He's hurt. He's hurt every year. He was hurt every year with the Giants, and he's been hurt every year since he's been in Kansas City. Those are major concerns.
One last thing I'll say, and we'll talk about Will Levis's impact on the game on Monday night against the Dolphins. But it feels like the Dolphins without Tyreek looks like Patrick Mahomes without Tyreek, in that when you don't have wide receivers, no matter how good your offense is, it can only take you so far, and they seem to be struggling with that. Not to take anything away from the Titans did, but that was my first thought when Tyreek went out with that injury, and that offense wasn't nearly as dynamic, even against a banged-up Titans defense.
Hence, I know this from an MVP standpoint usually goes to the quarterback, but is there an argument, a very strong argument, that Tyreek Hill does more for his team than maybe Tua does?
Absolutely.
Or any of these other quarterbacks that are all mentioned as MVP candidates, Dak Prescott, who's having a phenomenal year, but would Dak be Dak without the way CeeDee Lamb's playing?
And you've talked about this before, how the wide receiver position has become so much more important than it was probably even 10 years ago?
yet you continue to put an offensive tackle in front of Marvin Harrison Jr. and I'm sorry.
I
Can
didn't
I
do that.
stop that? Huh?
I didn't do that.
You didn't do that?
My last draft I had when I traded up, it was Caleb and then Marvin.
Okay.
I had the Bears
Don't
take
do
Marvin
that.
at number 2.
Our relationship will grow a lot more as long as you don't put an offensive tackle ahead of Marvin Harrison.
Lesson learned. The Washington Commanders fans want an offensive tackle, but only if Marvin Harrison is off the board. No
Yes.
quarterbacks. All right, speaking of quarterbacks, oh, sweet mercy alive. Let's start with Bryce, and we don't have to linger on this. I watched the game in Stamford, Connecticut, where we do HQ on the weekends. You do it in the mornings, I do it in the evenings. And without knowing the stat line and with the sound off, I thought Bryce made some good throws. And then I saw he was 3 for 15 in the first half. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'll go back and watch it yesterday morning. There were 6 drops that I counted. I mean, balls hitting guys in the hands. A couple of those were contested catches that you would like to see Adam Thielen or DJ Shark come down with, and they're 50-50 balls. And so maybe they're 4.5 drops told, but they're enough to make you think, okay, they're not even helping Bryce out. Now, Bryce missed a huge post in the middle of the field that could have been a touchdown. He's got to quit fumbling the ball and taking those huge hits when he's holding the ball too long. And I do think that he's probably mentally tired from the way this season is going, and he feels like he's seeing ghosts at times. Again, a handful of good throws and a bunch of stuff that you hopefully can alleviate with better offensive line play, better wide receivers, a better running game.
Did you ever see a kid take a hit on a sack? He got spun around like a whirl.
Oh, he sure did.
I thought he was done.
He's tough. Give him that.
There's no question. If you want to criticize, well, small guy and all that, this may be one of the toughest hombres I've seen with some of the hits that he takes and bounces right back. The one thing is you've seen his athleticism on some of the plays he made with his feet. You've seen him finally starting to take this new offensive coordinator calling plays, Brown, taking shots down the field.
Thank you.
I was disappointed in his accuracy down the
Yep.
field, like you had mentioned. He needs to make some of those throws.
Wasn't used to it. He hadn't been asked to do it for 14 weeks. But yes, you're right. He did miss a couple of deep throws.
So that was the disappointing thing. But he's working a little bit with one hand tied behind his back, in my opinion. And I think you're right. Mentally, after everything he's been through, it's been a long off season from the pre-draft process to where it's at right now. So they're just, please just get us to the finish line over these last 4 weeks. Let him play. Let him continue to learn and grow and make mistakes and make strides, which I do believe he makes strides every week he plays. But, this kid, you got to give him credit because he plays with a big heart. And for as much as he gets smacked around in some of the shots he takes, you would think that he wouldn't be able to hang in on some of those hits or would be on injured list. But every week, he bounced right back up and he bounces back up week in and week out, regardless of how many shots he's taken. Let
me ask you something that Joe Musso, our coworker, asked me over the weekend. If you're the new coach coming in, whoever that may end up being, as you go through the interview process, are the Carolina Panthers having to sell you on Bryce Young, or are you having to sell this potential coaching candidate on the ownership? Because those are two different questions, and they could be equally as important, or one more important than the other.
You better have a game plan because, like we said in other podcasts, Bryce Young isn't going anywhere. So however you got to make him Bryce Young that we saw at Alabama, you better do that. Now, the ownership question is, another thing, but how many opportunities do you get to be a head coach in the NFL?
Right.
So, I mean, do you pass up an opportunity and continue to wait? Or if you think you're ready to take your shot as a head coach, then, you're still going to get compensated fairly well. And you'd hope that, you last more than a year down in Carolina.
Frank Reich hoped that too.
Yeah. And the owner has patience. But if he brings in one of these bright young offensive minds to come in and to fix Bryce Young, I think that he will get the opportunity over a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, to do that.
All right, one last thing. If you're David Tepper or even Scott Fitterer, should he hang around? I'm not sure what his future is going to be. Are you asking Bryce what he likes an offensive coordinator / head coach, or is that too soon?
I think it's too soon because he's such a young kid.
Okay.
From a rookie standpoint, where I don't know if he knows what he doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
If it was a veteran, you maybe have him involved. in the process. But I don't think as a rookie QB. Now, the head coach candidates and Bryce Young, to me, I think need to sit down
Oh,
and
okay.
and to potentially have some internal talks that way. But like I said, whatever head coach takes over Carolina, have a plan for Bryce Young and what you're going to do offensively with him and how you're going to improve this offense.
I think that should be on the first slide of the PowerPoint.
Yes, that's the only. Yeah, if you come in and tell me, well, we're going to travel 2 days before we go out to the West Coast. Yeah, like,
Right. Don't even sit down, sir.
don't even sit down. Just keep on moving.
All right, we got to do this. Debo insists. We got to give a grade for Bryce compared to the other quarterbacks we'll talk about here. I mean, I'm going to give him a C- just out of kindness because it's the holiday season.
See,
C, you don't do minuses and pluses, we've learned.
no, that's a principal thing with me.
I've heard. All right. Next up, Coleridge Bernard Stroud the fourth. Toughest game of the year for him. He got concussed. He had to leave this game early. He was getting banged up pretty good. Quentin Williams got him on that sack. He banged his head on the turf at MetLife, had to come out. Davis Mills came in. Weather was not great there. That said, Zach Wilson had one of the best games, maybe the best game of his NFL career. Two former second overall picks, different years, of course, different NFL trajectories until they met on Sunday. Tank Dell didn't play in this game because he had the fractured fibula from last week. He's done for the season. Nico Collins was out. Dalton Schultz was out. So, again, this is similar to the Kansas City, Mahomes, Miami, Tua conversation. It's hard to win when your best players aren't out there running routes for you. I thought CJ fought hard, but he had 3 turnover-worthy plays. All the interceptions were dropped, one by Sauce Gardner that comes to mind. What's the middle linebacker's name used to play for the Ravens? Mosley had an opportunity for an interception early on. He dropped one where it looked like CJ didn't see him in the middle of the field. But this was his worst game. I don't take anything from it other than quarterbacks have bad games, and he got injured. Hopefully he's healthy enough to play. We'll see where he makes his way through concussion protocol. But I'll ask you this. Is there a real rookie wall? Did there any research you guys did on that? Anything you're concerned about? Anything you do to guard against it?
No, I don't know if you can guard against it or rookie wall or not. It's a mythical thing.
You don't buy into it?
Some guys get tired. Yeah, like I said, I'm tired.
Right. We both hit the rookie wall.
But I would say that CJ went into a buzzsaw. It was bad weather. He did not have his weapons going against a very good New York Jets football team.
Yep.
When you watch it, it was no one really getting separation. Now, CJ did make some good throws, off-schedule throws, but it wasn't the CJ we're used to seeing. And so whether I don't even know if it even looked like once they got down, and I'm not going to say this, and it looked like they almost got disinterested. They played hard, guys were playing hard. I'm not saying they weren't playing hard, but it just wasn't the same confidence level or savvy like when they came back and beat Cincinnati when he orchestrated that last drive. I just didn't get the same feeling watching them play this week in the rain in New York versus a very good Jets defense. Same sense that you had that, hey, he may pull this out. He did in the Denver game as well. He did in the Cincinnati game. I just didn't get that feel. And plus, he was getting beat to heck, too. I think that's the most he's gotten hit this year.
I agree. And he's taken some hits along the way. They've had this, I think this categorizes as a bad loss, not because of the Jets defense, but because Zach Wilson was dealing, which isn't CJ Stroud's problem, but they've had bad losses as a team. This one in the Carolina game come to mind. Just thinking about the playoff race. I think overall this season is a resounding success for a lot of reasons. But if you're thinking about the playoffs and what 2023 looks like, you would like to have those games back, but hopefully CJ gets healthy, gets back into it. All right, we got to grade him. No incompletes here. So I'm going to give him, I'll give him a C+. I thought he played better than Bryce, even though he had more turnover-worthy plays, and he got injured, but tough up to that point.
C.
C and C. Okay. C and C Music Factory, Rick's favorite musical group from the 90s. All right. Here we go. Hold on to your hats. Will Levis. You talk about tough hombres. Is he got to quit throwing his body around like an insane person?
He's going to get his body beat up on unnecessary hits. Why? after a pick six and the 300-pounders in
Oh,
the end zone,
gosh.
you try to take a shot at him. And again, what we talked about last week in that effort he made on that fumble recovery, 10
Yeah.
yards on the field, him whirly-burling, throwing his body up in the air to try to, and converted a third down on a scramble for a first down. There's no question about the kid's toughness and competitiveness. It's just has to become smarter because his body isn't going to hold up if he continues to try to truck dudes in the open field. Now there's no question about his physical stature and his ability to take some hits, but why do you put your body in that type of situation when you don't always have to?
So he had a great week. There's no doubt about it. There's no question his toughness, like you said. We would like him to take fewer hits. Where are you at on his rah-rah persona? Too much, the right amount, gets his teammates fired up?
I think it gets his teammates fired up, and they
Okay.
responded because for he tried to give the game away. I
Yeah.
mean, the pick six, the crappy pitch to
Oh, that was terrible. To Derrick Henry.
to Derrick Henry, that gave Miami, but for him to be down with 2 or 4 minutes left, 2 scores,
Down 14, that's right.
and to throw that across his body on the touchdown pass, and then I don't know what happened on a busted coverage on a 2-point conversion, but give him credit because his energy and his what you just talked about, competitiveness or fire, really, I think, was the reason why Tennessee won that game. Because and D-Hop, boy, did he have a night last night.
Woo-wee.
And you
I
think
love
he's
that.
not happy that this kid's his quarterback now?
Yeah, right. I mean, a couple things here. So as I look at through the stats, Levis was third in passing yards among all quarterbacks in Week 14 at 327. He was, in terms of explosive plays, the Titans and Will Levis ranked fourth among all teams. First downs per attempt, Will Levis was third. So he was absolutely dealing. And you mentioned there was some bad that was mixed in with that. The interception can't happen, but we've seen Bryce make interceptions like that. Taking the hits can't happen. But I give him credit, and you just talked about it. He hung in there. He didn't hang his head. He's tough as nails, and it feels like something you can build around, right?
Yeah, I would say this was a signature win for him, especially in Miami. The way Miami is, everybody's touting them as to be the potential number 1 seed in the AFC, and letting this game get away from them. So you got to give credit where credit's due. And he may not be the most perfect quarterback yet, but I thought his deep ball accuracy and he's doing a better job with touch on some of these throws
Yeah.
that we haven't seen. So he is progressing, and I think he's done enough now to say that he is their quarterback, and going into next year's draft, we'll start building around him.
All right, let's talk about that just quickly. I know we'll get to this at the end, but just the Titans quickly. They have the 9th pick right now. Would you rather have J.C. Latham or Rome Odunze if you're Will Levis?
Odunze.
J.C. Latham's the right tackle at Alabama. Odunze is the big play wide receiver out of Washington. I agree with that. All right. Oh, we got to grade him. I'm giving him an A. No, I'm giving him an A plus. I'm sorry. He deserves an A plus for the way he came back. He started off as the D with the turnover, A plus ending.
I would give him an A ending, but a C. So I'm going to give him a B overall for the entire game. But you have to give him credit. I would lean on giving it an A because of how he ended up winning the game at the end. So give me an A.
You going to give an A?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. You talk yourself into it. I was going to say, you want those 3 minutes that he had at the end, not at the beginning. You like how that worked out. All right. Now let's go to the man of the hour, the man of the week, America's QB1, Tommy DeVito. What are we doing? Wasn't asked to do a whole lot early on, but he didn't make mistakes. And Brian Dable, the coach, talked with us afterwards. He did what he asked him to do. He made good decisions. And then he had to make that big boy throw at the end to Wandale on the 7 route, I think, to set up
How
the game.
about that kid coming along and having him as an offensive weapon last night?
Absolutely.
Coming off an ACL and being healthy.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, or if Josh Edwards, our colleague, who's from Kentucky, from Ohio, but was at the Kentucky Pro Day with us. Wandale was there recovering, and he's actually like smaller than me. So I think he's a better athlete too, by the way he played last night. But right, they needed some help at explosive playmaker position. Jalen Hyatt's been off and on as a rookie, but that was a huge throw. Big
Yeah,
catch.
Tyler's been coming on lately too. We talked about him last week as a pop.
So again, it's all coming together. You said earlier in the podcast, this is still Daniel Jones's team. But Tommy DeVito, and I heard Chase Daniel, the longtime backup, talk about this on the Athletic podcast last week. Games like this and games like the way Jake Browning's playing bought those guys 3 to 5 years extra in the league and a lot of money. Do you agree with that?
Yes, 100%.
All right. What do you think about Danny? Jesus. What do you think about Tommy's performance?
Gutsy. It's not pretty, but the kid figures out a way to win. He makes more plays with his legs than I anticipated. And he actually won that game, I thought, with some of his scrambles rather than his arm. Now, he made some critical throws down the stretch. You know, Jordan Love looked like the Jordan Love we saw in the beginning of the season. But this kid fights. It's not pretty, but he's finding a way to win games. And you don't judge the stats because he's not going to fill up the stat box. You know, he's not a pocket passer. He's not going to go through his progressions. But if the one read is open, he's more than capable enough to make those throws. He can make off scheduled plays. You know, the touchdown when he rolled out to his right was a great throw.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. To Hodgkins.
Yeah, to Hodgkins. So that was a big time throw. And then he makes plays with his legs. And I think just like these rookie quarterbacks, the veterans are feeding off of their energy and their competitiveness and their fight and will to try to win games. And I think that is getting momentum going for these teams on, you know, why those were maybe the two best games besides the Buffalo game. Those may have been the two best games to watch last night. And both, you know, you'd say they were upsets. The way that Green Bay was playing and New York, you know, upsets them, and, you know, Miami, who we were throwing flowers on. Now you may be throwing flowers on them for the opposite reason.
Right. Along with the dirt.
Yeah. So it was fun to watch those guys. It's fun to watch these rookies because you don't know, but you see guys that like ball. These two, there's no question that they're going to go out there and compete their tails off, and they're earning that respect in the locker room, which is critical.
You basically encapsulated what I was thinking last night. I was watching that game. Tommy DeVito in August didn't even know if he was going to make the team. And he probably came into that situation with a lot of doubts and a lot of concerns. But when you have someone like Brian Dable supporting you, when you have your teammates behind you, when you have an entire city calling your name, it's a lot easier to play looser and freer. Also understanding there's zero expectations because you're the third string guy out there. That sort of played itself out, it feels like.
Yeah. And kudos for the New York teams this year. Both their quarterbacks who've been ridiculed, or the quarterback position, both of them have something to cheer about going into next week.
So Debo just threw up a graphic if you're listening. Tommy DeVito is an undrafted free agent to win 3 straight starts. He joins Duck Hodges and Ed Rubbert. You know Ed Rubbert from the 80s?
No.
Early 90s? I don't recognize the name either.
Hopefully he'll have a better career.
Great name, not the career that we all had hoped for. All right, so if I gave Will Levis an A+, you're going to love this. I'm giving Tommy D an A++. He's my Week 14 MVP, excuse me.
I'd give him an A because he figured out a way to win a game last night, and they performed in the critical situations.
Right, because Jordan Love, as bad as he played, came down and had that touchdown throw. Great catch by Malik Heath, another rookie. If we were talking about rookie offensive side of the ball players, we'd have a long list of guys just from Monday night. There wasn't a lot going on earlier in the week, but great catch from him. 90 seconds left, and you cannot leave 90 seconds on the clock for Tommy D, Rick, because he will carve you up. 71 rushing yards, too, by the way. You talked about his ability to run the ball. We saw that without question. All right. Going to take one more quick break. When we come back, going to talk about the top 5 rookies with a little surprise for Rick right after this.
We're back for an all-new season of Ink Master.
This is wild.
And 3-time Ink Master winner DJ Tamby returns as a judge.
Guaranteed there's going to be some shots fired.
Y'all gotta watch your back.
You're gonna get it because you talk a lot, bro.
This tattoo is badass.
That is insanity.
This piece is super dynamic. You better strap in and be ready for the ride.
Victory is a work of art. Ink Master, new season, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
All right, Rick, let's talk about some of these rookies.
Can I ask you a question? It's like
yeah.
Ink Master, do they do those tattoos on real people, on real arms?
So if you're listening to the audio version, we just saw a commercial for Ink Masters, which you can catch on Paramount Plus. Debo, are there real people used? Are those the same dummies you do CPR on to get the tattoos?
Those are real people.
So those are permanent tattoos.
Correct.
Okay.
Where are you on the tattoo game, Rick?
I right now don't have any issues one way or another. Let people be who they want to be.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, knowing that, 131 days until I get my next tattoo, Rick. So we can talk about that.
Maybe you'll be on Ink Master.
Yeah, I should be on Ink Master, get it for free.
Maybe they'll do a with the first pick podcast tattoo.
I would do that. I'm all for that. Make that happen, Debo.
If Jaden Daniels goes number 1, you have to get it with the first pick.
Rick, that's you.
Both of you.
Yeah, we'll get matching tattoos, Rick. You want to do that if Jaden Daniels goes first overall?
I'll do that. Although it looks like it hurts.
It hurts. And don't listen. Let me give you a piece of advice. Do not agree on anything CBS Sports related to a tattoo. That's how I got this Snoopy Ryan Finley tattoo. That just don't do it because Debo will hold you to it. He keeps a file of all the things you say. He will use them against you.
Okay. I'm pretty confident that I won't have to get a tattoo.
I thought there was no way in God's green earth that Ryan Finley would beat the Steelers either. And here we are.
Yeah, but that was a dumb bet.
At the time, it felt pretty smart, and it blew up right in my face. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's talk about some of these top 5 rookies, defensive only, because the D deserves some love. Let's start with Ivan Pace, undrafted rookie free agent out of Cincinnati, plays for the Vikings. He's played a lot. We talked about him in the preseason because he flashed early, and they asked him to do a little bit of everything. Undersized was the concern, and you've made your thoughts known that the undersized off-ball linebacker is the reason why you don't get drafted high typically. But I feel like they're getting their money's worth out of Ivan Pace. He will occasionally run around blocks and get run out of plays, but sometimes he'll beat the interior offensive lineman to the gap, and he's tackling whoever's there. And he's a high motor guy. They use him a lot in coverage. He does line up at off ball, but they'll line him up outside as well, 9-tech or whatever, to be a pain there. Had an interception on a great little catch on a slant. I don't know what the quarterback was looking at. I think Aiden O'Connell was the one who threw it. Thought it was going to be a second window slant throw. Either way, great catch by what Ivan Pace did there. What are your thoughts on what he's done over the first 14 weeks?
Yeah, and this kid wasn't even drafted, so great signing as a college free agent. And right now he's trending towards a year or two. If he continues, this will be a Pro Bowl level player because he's very instinctive. He does hop around blocks, but he's athletic enough to get back in position to make the play. He's a tackling machine. Made a lot of tackles outside, close into the bubble screens and those short, quick screens. Had the sack on the Hail Mary before the half where he kind of sat in coverage, and as O'Connell stepped up, he went up and sacked him. And then the interception, which was a great job reading the quarterback's eyes. I don't know if he didn't see him there or not, but I got to give the kid credit for making the break, having the awareness of the slant coming to him and coming up with a play that ended the day very entertaining game to get.
I think the under hit. It's 3-0.
3-0 hit.
Here, we'll do this in real time since I was traveling today. Let's grade the players, then we'll come up with our aggregated top 5 defensive only list, and that way you have to participate.
Okay.
What do you want to give Ivan? You go first.
Do I get to give a number or a grade?
Let's do 1 out of 10. 10's the best one, so then we can add them up. Make it a little easier.
8.
I like that. I'm going to give him 8.1 just because I know you hate decimals too. All right, next up. Man, I am so glad we can talk about this guy. I'm going to let you go first because I don't want to taint your thought process with my flowery words.
Okay, just time out. There has never been an occasion in the 100 whatever shows we've done, 105 shows that you ever tainted my opinion on. Just so we're just clear on that. I have my opinion, and by no way, shape, or form will I ever be swayed on what my opinion is. Now, maybe hard-headed, but
I'm laughing because
I understand that you are the quarterback of this podcast and you're the expert.
Oh boy!
But I will not be swayed, in my opinion, if I'm doing the tape work, to tell you what I feel about him. Just so you know that.
I wish you'd said that a few minutes from now, so it would perfectly segue to the mystery guest. So just hold that thought. But all right, then I'll go on Tyree, because we talked about him at the halfway point when we did the rookie grades, and it was hard to watch. He had the foot injury back in November 2022, and you said that shouldn't be a factor. It just looked like he was playing. The game was too fast for him at the time. He looked like he was getting overpowered. We saw flashes of little Texas Tech in this game. He was driving guys into the backfield. Guys were struggling to anchor against him, and it was fun to watch. I think the very first play is when he had that sack. Okay, there's something there, something we can work with. And I think, again, we talked about this with Tommy DeVito, but confidence is a huge thing no matter who you are and where you are in your journey, no matter how good of an athlete you are. And I think Tyrese feels like he's turning the corner.
Confidence and playing without having to think.
Yeah.
So I think the confidence comes because his foot feels normal again. And he's not playing by the numbers. He's actually letting it loose, pinning his ears back, especially in the pass rush stuff. Couple of times they put him inside over the guard, and he was a mismatch on the backup guards that were playing for Minnesota.
Yeah.
But you can see the first step quickness. You can see the powers. He's still raw with counter move stuff, yes, but he is a humming now. And when we talked about him earlier when we did our rookie review, we all considered him. I considered him a bust the way he was playing. But he has really looked like he's starting to turn a corner and playing without thinking. Now, he still has a ways to go in the run game, in my opinion. His pad level gets too high. He's not consistent getting off blocks, but he's got such a long body that he falls into some tackles. He needs to get better there. But as a pass rusher, he's starting to flash, not only coming off the edge, but as an inside pass rusher.
Yeah, and he put a little move on Christian Darrisaw. He beat him inside through the B gap on one little move, which was nice. Good to see. So what's your grade? I already wrote my grade down.
Oh, wait.
1 to 10.
6.
Oh, okay. I gave him a 7. All right, good. I was happy with the progress. All right, next up, another guy that we talked about in the fall, Clark Phillips out of Utah, nickelback / outside. He played outside in this game for the Falcons against Tampa Bay. But the concern with him was size. And I don't think he ran particularly well. I have to go back and check.
4.51 at the combine. I went and looked it up.
Oh, good. 4.51. Thank you. But again, had 6 targets, 2 passes defended. Of all the rookie defensive backs in Week 14, he had one of the lowest passer ratings against at 39.6, which is really good. And he stayed in phase in the routes in which he was targeted. Now, there were some bad throws from Baker Mayfield, but I like the idea of finding a hidden gem. I think he was a day 3 guy, I believe, early day 3. And having someone to pair opposite A.J. Terrell because they need some help in the secondary. And this feels like one of those things where you're like, okay, we're going to draft him, see what happens. And it feels like he's making progress in the right direction.
If we had a producer that was or director, whatever Debo is.
He's a producer.
Okay. I don't know the difference between the 2 jobs.
But you're going to tell him how to do his job. Go ahead.
I wouldn't do that to Debo because I got to be nice to him as well. But if I were producing, directing, or whatever Debo does behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz he is, I would have actually said that, if I recall, Ivan Pace was on our Just Good Football Player list, and I believe this kid was on our Just Good Football Player list. But we do all that hard work, and then it just gets thrown out with the rest of the trash.
Look, Debo was putting together a graphic of you getting mayonnaise dumped on your head. He can't do everything.
That's way more important than, hey, you guys really identified these guys as good football players, even though they were too small or didn't run fast enough.
Ivan Pace was not on Just Good Football Players.
However, you made him mad, Rick.
Come on.
However, when we did the top 5 linebackers last year, he was Rick's favorite sleeper.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
I thought he didn't like him because he was little. Okay, you got that one under the radar. So, 4th round pick for Clark Phillips. You talked about the 4.51, 5'9", 183. So, pretty small. But anyway, didn't play small.
No, and he played fast. He plays faster than that. I mean, he came hauling like a wild banshee.
Close enough. I think I'm going to go with the Jesse one. What's the Jesse one?
Oh, a Gorin Jesse?
Yeah, I thought that was what you're going to use.
Yeah. went on a reverse, and he came hauling across on that motion when they ended reverse and made a nice play. Stayed in stride down the field and had the PBU with him and Godwin in a foot race. The most impressive play to me in this was they were in some kind of 3 deep scheme, and Baker tried to hit a seam. He was on the outside and read the quarterback's eyes and popped inside on that seam and had another great play, PBU, that prevented the game. The only negative I would say is that he's more than willing and he'll come up and hit you, but he's small and he has a tendency to nosedive and miss too many tackles. And he got buried in the depth chart because they have Hughes, they have Alford, they have a couple guys, and he got hurt in the Miami combined practices, this training camp, and then kind of got lost in the shuffle. He's only played 3 games this year, and he has really jumped off the tape in certain situations, and this was his best game to date, getting an opportunity. And they didn't play him over the neck. They played him a lot as an outside corner.
Which again goes back to things that we talk about, because you're a little hesitant to put these little guys outside, but I don't know if it was by necessity or just good practice, but he plays bigger than 5'9" either way.
Yeah. And he's everything you saw on the college tape is showing up here. And the 4.51 and the weight and the speed and the height knocked him down to the 4th, because I bet you earlier in shows, I mean, he was considered one of the top 5 or 6 corners the way he played at Utah.
Yep, that's right.
So a little fun fact, maybe Rick was misremembering a little bit. There's a lot going on in that brain of his, but Clark Phillips was his cornerback sleeper when we did the top 5 corners. So I think he was thinking about his sleeper picks versus just good football.
You got both
players.
those guys? Dang it. You're pretty good at this.
You had Corey Trice, who was looking good, and then had the season-ending injury for the Steelers.
Training camp, Debo. Come on.
Day 2. It was like very early.
Yeah. But he was good on that first day, though, Rick. Just know that. All right. I wrote down my grade for Clark Phillips.
Pretty good with my sleepers in.
You did great. It's almost like you did this for a living or something.
This next guy is not my sleeper.
All right. Listen, but you got to give me a grade on Clark. I wrote mine down already. What's your grade on Clark Phillips?
B.
1 out of 10.
Oh, 7.
Okay, I give him a 6.5. I will not do whole numbers, just so you know. All fractions.
I'm doing whole numbers and whole letters.
Next up, Mr. Kobe Turner out of Wake Forest. Before we get going here, Debo has a special message for you.
Hey, Rick, what happened with Kobe Turner? Thought he had short arms, was a short guy, wasn't going to be able to make plays at the next level? See, that's the problem. You guys want to put everybody in the measurable category, right? What about heart, right? What about production? Same thing happened to me. Wanted to put me in the category. You guys let me go. 10 years later, we're still in the NFL, man. As my guy Pete Prisco would say, learn the game.
He hit you with a learn the game. If you're listening or you're watching,
awesome.
That's our colleague, Lige Douzable, who played 10 years in the NFL. He's a defensive lineman. I think Rick was the first general manager to cut him as an undrafted free agent. And he's like the greatest guy in the world. But he also uses that as motivation. And we had him on in the pre-draft process. He was talking up Kobe Turner. And as you noted, Rick, you were not a huge Kobe Turner fan. He's twitchy. Do you remember what you didn't like about him at the time? I'm trying to remember.
It all started when I can't even remember.
Chris Trapasso came on and put him in the first round pick.
Yeah,
yes.
that's where all of a sudden I just soured. And I will say this: I do recognize his pass rush ability, although a lot of he didn't have any sacks this game.
He was moving though.
But he did disrupt the quarterback. A lot of his pressures were effort plays outside the pocket. When Lamar got outside the pocket, there were a few that he got pressure on the inside. Him and Linderbaum went at it. I thought that was a really fun matchup to watch on tape. Linderbaum actually pulled him to the ground, which should have been a holding call and wasn't called. The run game, I think he still struggles versus the run. I don't think he can hang in there versus the big boys when they come off the ball. But he's flashed just like he flashed at Wake Forest as an inline pass rusher. Where'd he go? 4th, 5th round?
Yeah. He may have been late day 2. I'll double check. He went higher. We were laughing when it happened because you were giving him such a hard time up to that point.
Yeah. Well, between him and the Eastern Michigan kid.
Yeah, the Eastern Michigan kid, I think Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't a fan of neither of those. And this kid plays hard. And so another guy that's overcoming the measurables. Now, we're talking about 14 game snapshot, which he's flashed. But let's talk 3 years from now, because I'm going to go on. I'll be in my new office starting my next show, and I will be doing a video to send back to Mr. Doozable.
So 89th overall pick, Kobe Turner was, 3rd round. And at the time we were giggling about it because you had given him such a hard time throughout the process. Not him as a person, just the conversations we'd had in general. But the fact that he's listed at 6'2", around 290, and plays inside mostly, he was getting Lamar off the spot, and not just getting off the spot. Lamar had to move a little bit to avoid getting hit, even as he got close to the sidelines, which was impressive to me.
Yeah, no, and kudos to the Rams, because him and Puka both are guys that were not high on a lot of people's lists, not high on my list, let's be honest. And now you call him Puka Spielman, because I'm
Spielman, love it.
Yeah, buying in. But both these guys exceeded expectations.
And in your defense, you like Steve Avila, their 2nd round pick, who's starting in a guard, and you like Bryce Young, the Tennessee Bryce Young, older edge rusher, who's had a great. I mean, we're gonna, Debo and you and I were talking about this before the podcast. We're gonna do a grading each team's first rookie class at the end of the season. Without looking, the Rams are going to be up there pretty high because they crushed it.
Yeah, and they're winning, and they're doing it with the rookies they drafted.
All right, the big question: what are you giving Mr. Kobe Turner?
C.
You got to give him a number.
5.
Are you serious?
5.
I gave him a 7.6.
All right.
One of those points goes to Lige for his comments. He should get a 10 for the way Lige. So I sent Lige a mess. I called him and said, "Hey, will you do this?" And without hesitation, he said yes. And I thought he would just hold us
with him this past weekend.
Right. That's why I didn't want to tell you. He was saying, when I talked to him yesterday, he said he was, watching the games with you, and the Lions game had you not in a great mood with the way they were playing. But I thought that Lige would just hold the phone up while he was walking down the street. He went to his office. He turned the lights on. He got his collared shirt on. Got his hair done right. He wanted to make sure you knew what was up. So thank you, Lige, for that. That was fantastic.
Thank you, Lige.
All right, one more guy to get to. This is another guy that we've talked about previously on the show because he is playing so well. We've talked about his background, how he lost his sister, and how he suffered the ACL injury, how his final year at Clemson on the field wasn't as productive as perhaps he wanted it to be. But all those things have changed in terms of what he's doing on the field. Bryan Bresee, number 90. Lines up a 3-tech. He can line up outside, over the center, doesn't matter. Another twitched up young man. He wins consistently for, I think, where he is at in his journey, and he is a disruptor. What do you say? More disruptive than productive? Is that what you say?
He's very disruptive, yes.
I feel like he has a chance to be both when it's all said and done, but he's a problem already, I feel like.
Yeah. No, he was that poor number 66, Nash Jensen.
Nash Jensen, I had to look him up too. Sorry, Nash, to call you out.
Yeah, North Dakota State college free agent last year, rookie, had his hands full. I think I charted 8 quarterback pressures and hits, no sacks, but Bryce Young was getting killed, and hence the toughness of Bryce Young. But everything from a pass rush standpoint, you seen that we probably saw, if you went back and looked at tape 2 years ago before the knee injury and then the adversity he had to go through. So there was no question about this kid's ability. It was just if he's going to turn the switch on, and he definitely has down there. The only criticism I would give him is that his pad level gets high. He tries to look for the ball in the run game, and then he'll get thrown out of the bar a couple of times from that standpoint.
Right.
But other than that, the pass rush stuff, he is quick, he is slippery, he is big. And hopefully Nash Jensen will get over the nightmares he's probably continuing to have going against Bryan Bresee in this game.
And that's the other thing you realize when you just watch Bryce and you're like, okay, he's leaving the pocket too early. His feet are all over the place. And then you focus in on what he's going up against. You're like, oh, I get it. He's got Nash Jensen trying to protect him, and he understands that Bryan Bresee and Cam Jordan and all those guys can throw him through the turf if he's hanging out there trying to make plays. I get it. So it sort of helps give you the full picture of what Bryce Young has to deal with, and all quarterbacks do. All right, what are you giving Brian Brzee on a scale of 1 to 10? Let me give you the direction ahead of time.
Do I have a spot right behind Ivan? He would be number 2 for me.
All right, you want to say 7? Well, you gave Clark Phillips a 7. You gave Ivan Pace an 8.
Gave Ivan Pace a 9 and give him an 8.
Okay. All right, Brian gets an 8. Ivan gets a 9. So to final tally, here's how they rank. Number 5, Kobe Turner. So disrespectful from Rick because of that low grade. Turner ranks 5 of the top 5 rookies. Number 4, Tyree Wilson. Great game from him. Number 3, Clark Phillips. Number 2, Brian Brzee. And then number 1, Ivan Pace. Undrafted free agent. Big week for undrafted free agents of the rookies. Ivan Pace and Tommy DeVito lead the conversations for us here. All right, Rick, one more quick break, and then we're going to talk NFL draft order with a Titans focus right after this.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And Rick, by Titans, I mean Raiders. I actually wrote it down wrong, too. Hard to believe.
Hey, Brian, let's never do that grading system again, by the way.
Why, Debo?
That was rough. That was worse than the gambling odds.
Getting Rick to get the numbers 1 through 10. I was trying to do it in real time. That's why Rick doesn't like giving us grades, because it gets too complicated.
Well,
all
no,
right.
It's just with the decimal points, and we don't need all that. Just
Well, I added them up quietly. I didn't think that would be but every time I asked you for a grade, you gave me a letter grade.
Yeah. Well, I can give you a letter. I can give you a number. It's doesn't matter as long as we get them in the right order.
We got him in the right order, I think. Kobe Turner's my number 1, though. Lee just going to send you another video, it sounds like. All right, we're talking Raiders draft order, not Titans. I don't know why I was on the Titans. We talked to Titans earlier briefly about what they should do at number 9. Rick said Roma Dunze over an offensive tackle.
Okay. All right, time out. Debo,
Yeah.
Did you not send Titans on your sheet?
Oh, am I right, Rick? I thought
Initially, I sent the Titans, but after their big win last night, dropping them down the order, I did clarify that we were shifting to the Raiders this morning.
Okay, I didn't read that one. That's on me. Okay. Thank you, Rick, for backing me up. All right, we're talking Raiders. They lost the barn burner 3-0 to the Vikings. Oh, man. They now have the number 6 pick. You know, after the way Tyree played, if Dallas Turner's here, I mean, you can never have too many edge rushers. So let's start with the defense, and then we'll go through the other iterations. So you're shaking your head no edge rusher here. You're okay with Tyree and Max. Okay? So Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't going to be there. So I'm not going to do that conversation with the offensive tackle for Marvin Harrison Jr., but let's do this conversation. Joe Alt versus a Jaden Daniels, for example.
Or Penix.
Oh, that high for Michael Penix. So 2 quarterbacks or the left tackle.
Or what if J.J. McCarthy?
No, absolutely not. I'm not taking J.J. McCarthy 6. You drew the line at Jaden Daniels. I'm drawing the line at J.J. McCarthy.
I would definitely have to think they have to get a quarterback.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't want to say you're overdrafting any of these quarterbacks because we have a long way to go, and the college tape is the college tape. And the college tape, I feel like it's much better for the top 4 guys that we're talking about here than what we've had in recent years. Does that sound right? Because a lot of times with like Will Levis, we'd have to squint and make things happen and so on and so forth. So you can probably talk yourself into all these things. Is there a world where if Michael Penix is as clean health-wise as any of the other quarterbacks that he could be QB3?
No.
Huh.
I think he's the best thrower from the pocket.
Yeah.
But this game, as we're seeing, all these young quarterbacks that are having success are the guys that are making plays with their legs. And, you know, in my comparison, and, you know, you can put it up there and all that other stuff, and it could be wrong, but the Lamar Jackson traits in Jalen Daniels keeps popping up. So if you knew Lamar went 32 to Baltimore that year or at the end,
they traded back up.
But if you knew what Lamar was going to be, would you now consider him a top 10 pick?
Of course, he'd be the first overall pick.
That's why I'm not going to argue with you about
Okay.
James Daniels probably coming up into this conversation.
Hey, let me ask you this, because I wasn't the draft person at the time of that Lamar Jackson draft. Do you remember where Lamar was in his journey compared to where Jaden is now in terms of all the things they do well?
A lot of similar traits, I think, with running. I think Jaden may even be a little better thrower.
Okay.
Although Lamar can throw the ball. I think the biggest thing is, what do you do with these running quarterbacks? That wasn't the trend back then, you know. So now it seems to be the trend. And that's why I think some of these guys are going to pop up there a lot higher than maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
In terms of athleticism, who's more athletic, Teddy Bridgewater, who you drafted, or Michael Penix Jr.?
Teddy.
You think so? Okay.
Before the injury.
I still think you're, yeah, of course. I still think you're underselling Michael Penix's athleticism.
I think he can move.
Okay.
I just don't think that he is going to make a lot of plays with his legs. Now, I may be wrong. We'll see. As a, you know, off the tape, he made some scrambles, but he's going to throw the ball first.
All right, I'm going to read you my mock draft they had me do for HQ that's coming up later. Just something I slapped together. It's not on the website or anything. But in this draft order, Caleb goes first overall. We just assume the Bears take him. They can trade down, do whatever, but he's going to go first overall. Then I had Drake May going number 2 to the Patriots. You've talked about it. We're going to talk about it to death. They have to take a quarterback. Marvin Harrison to Arizona at number 3. Olafashinu to Washington at 4 to make the Commanders fans and Rick happy. And number 5, Dallas Turner to the Bears. And then at number 6, you have Jaden Daniels, Joe Alt, J.C. Latham, Malik Neighbors, Michael Penix Jr., Roma Dunze, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Any of those guys, where are you going for the Raiders?
Early, but you have to seriously, in order for them to get better, they got to get the quarterback issue resolved.
Yeah.
Because, you know, AOC is not the answer. Garoppolo is not the answer, and you can't win without a quarterback in this league. So I would say that even if it's a reach, and I don't know, there's a ways to go yet through all the process, but you have to highly consider whoever your third quarterback is on that board. Maybe it's not Jaden Daniels, but
maybe it is JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, or Penix. Whoever that quarterback is, that has to really, really be thought that do we go and get our quarterback, because they can't continue to play like they're playing and have a chance to win without a quarterback.
And it could even be Spencer Rattler or Bo Nix. We just don't know, Rick.
Well, if that, then I will definitely get a Spencer Rattler tattoo right on my forehead.
Oh, he keeps doubling down, Devo. I love it. All right, one more dollar bet, and you can pick whichever side you want, and we'll get out of here. You can tell me who gets drafted first. I think I know the answer, but Spencer or Bo?
Bo.
All right, give me Spencer, Devo. I think he's going to make a run here in the pre-draft process. I'm already down $2. All right. Devo, what are we doing Thursday again? I'm sorry. You told me. I forgot.
We're going to check in on some select rookies 3/4 of the way through the season, dish out some grades, not like we just did it in the last segment, but
yeah, we'll do it different. We'll have a plan. We'll see who the guest video
had,
speaker.
I just wanted to revisit, if you had the number 1 pick in the 2018 draft, with the benefit of hindsight, you taking Lamar or Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think it's Josh Allen. Lamar's the second pick, though, I think. Like number 2, not even 5 or whatever.
Who was the first quarterback off the board that year? Josh Allen?
No, that would have been Baker. Baker was number 1, and then Darnold, and then Allen, then Rosen,
Josh
and
Rosen.
Lamar.
Yeah, that kind of shifted in our redraft.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah. All right. So on Thursday, we'll take a look at the 3/4 poll, if that's such a thing, of the rookie players. Give them some grades. We'll have a new grading system, and we'll see who the mystery guest is that calls Rick out.
Is it going to be letter grades? Is it going to be number grades? Debo, which direction are we going?
He'll put it in the memo.
Yeah, I know. It's a memo that's never right. It says focus, Tennessee Titans. And then all of a sudden there's a quick switch.
Again, I spent a lot of time defending Debo. He was actually marrying people this weekend, so he was a little distracted. So I give him a break for that.
He didn't get married. What would he be distracted about? You like this guy? Marry him. You say, yeah. Okay. You like him? She like you? All right. Let's put the put the rings on each other, give a kiss, and let's go to the bar. How hard is it, Debo?
No, you summed it up.
I think that Rick and Debo should team up to be
Can
like
I
a
be
wedding
like-
operation.
Can I go online and get a license and be your assistant during the ceremony? I'm very loving. I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
Is that why I won't be on a Hallmark movie show? I think I really need to get on one. I think
Well, you
that'll
should
be a breakthrough for me.
do not go to bed at 8:30, and you won't miss that opportunity. You blew your chance. Sometimes you only get one shot, Rick, and you slept right through it.
I slipped right through it.
All right. On behalf of Rick, who apologized to Kobe Turner and his family, thank you for watching the show today. I thank our guy Lee J for his video. That was fun. Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen and comment. Feel free to subscribe to the old podcast. Leave us a thumbs up as you do. That was episode 105. Rick, it is in the books. We'll be back Thursday to talk some more rookies. See you guys then.